we've had, I'm actually in Phoenix, Arizona at the main Network Empire offices, and we've been working together the last few days on the release of the all-new free SEO silo plugin with the new manual silo adder, which is super cool. Yeah, so welcome, and thanks for being here, Sue.
Hey, thanks for having me, Russell. This is awesome. What's that thing that you were just talking about?
Nothing. I was talking about the Silo plugin, the new one that we're still making the videos for, but is available at siloblogbuilder.com for free.
Fascinating. And what does this do?
Essentially, the new Silo plugin, many of you have the one that was inside the members area. This is a new and improved version. We had a developer increase its efficiency, but it also has a manual silo adder, which renders a lot of the difficulty of using free silo, free WordPress plugins and a bunch of them together to create a silo structure, kind of obsolete in some ways. I mean, it's still useful to do that, but if you want to use our plugin, it kind of renders the need to use 3 or 4 different combinations of plugins obsolete. So, and again, if you want to download it for free, we are Sue and I are currently in the process of creating the videos, and there will be a help tab inside. It's at siloblogbuilder.com. Still brushing up the page. It's going to be a giveaway page. I don't know if any of you have noticed there's a couple of new Silo plugins and courses that have come out in the market the last couple months. One of them is selling a Silo plugin with affiliate links for $27 to $197. This does what that does, but it doesn't have outbound links to affiliate programs, and you can just use another plugin. I'm going to show you guys a video how to do that, so you can get the same effect for free. Anyway, very exciting. So all you have to do is go to this page, download it, and new and upgraded versions will be you'll be notified. Additionally, we're going to put it on there's the plain old-fashioned WordPress directory. Imagine that, and people can just download it, and everybody can stop making such a gigantic, huge deal of WordPress silo building. And of course, this plugin will also work directly with Domain Web Studio. And so the advantage for us is that if you want to use any of our upstream services, Domain Web Studio, I know I'm not supposed to tell them this, Sue, but also Kraken Blueprint will eventually work with this. So the advantage of
works now.
Oh yeah, and shh.
Oh.
I haven't written the mark. Actually, if you do use Kraken, the Kraken has an amazing blueprint. I use this all the time. That'll import directly. So guys and gals, the advantage of us giving this away where other people are charging for it is, some people will want to use our upstream services, and we have a little ad in there that says, hey, you can use our upstream services. So siloblogbuilder.com, and that's a lot of fun. If you have any feedback as we get the new videos out, any questions, you'll see more and more about this, do feel free to contact us in the Skype group. If you want to join the basic Skype group, which I currently manage so that Sue can actually get the important stuff done, occasionally she pops her head in there. All you need to do is go ahead and Skype me at ThemeZoom. And what I'll do is I'll drag and drop you right into that basic member Skype group. I only manage that group about 1 or 2 hours a day, but you can check in there during those times and see if there's been any new plugins. We have other plugins coming as well. Lots of exciting stuff happening in the Skype group. So it just gives you a little bit of feedback there. Okay, I'll step out of the way, Sue. Go for it.
Okay, and one other thing I want to mention about that plugin is we're currently putting in a modification this week. We're going to add videos to the Silo plugin.
Yeah, that will be paid.
Yeah, and so since I'm sending it back to the programmer for some updates, if you guys have changes, I'm open to concepts, so ping us. Probably the easiest thing to do is to ping us on Skype, but you can also send us an email to talk to us at networkempire.com.
And again, I want to emphasize, for sake of clarity, because I can already hear the emails coming in, the automatic video adder will be, I think did we set a price, Sue?
Oh, we're still toying with prices. No.
Yeah, it's going to be totally ridiculously cheap. We just need enough to cover our coding. But basically, the idea there is we're getting really good results when we toss just even a video as a placeholder, so you can use it like on all our pages. So you can use it as a placeholder until you get your own content back on. We get indexed so fast when we put a YouTube video on there that it's just kind of funny. For some long tails, you'll be even at the bottom of the first page. regardless of what everybody's saying about it. So, you can use that as a domain squatting tool with video right on. It's instant, like literally silo, boom, everything's there. We have more advanced versions coming out. So that's really going to be just a nominal, that'll be the premium version of that. And, I like that because if I'm building like 40 or 50 blogs in my WR2 network, hopefully you guys know how that works, then I want to have video on there, because sometimes it can take our outsource team, a few days to get back with the content, or in Domain Web Studio, it might take your outsourcing, team, if you're using the other version to do that. So anyway, that's kind of the thinking on that. One of the major courses that went out on the market actually calls that Skylo or Silo Skeleton. We're not going to call that, but essentially he was showing you how to do that manually. It takes like an hour and a half, so this will be instant. All right, sorry, I'm getting off the soapbox.
You'll be able to, I was chatting with guys, so I don't know if you covered this, but you'll be able to actually put in your YouTube video channel, and it'll draw your videos and by the keyword on the page, and
that's true. So you don't.
So it's
right.
not,
so you don't.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is great. I'm glad you brought that to my attention last night, Sue. I wasn't even thinking about that. If you can put in any channel. So if you've got decent content on your own channels, or if some of you are doing major channel cloning or the rest, if you know the keywords in there, just put in your own. So it'll search first on your own channel and bring your own content videos up as placeholders, which for me is just brilliant. So if I put up a SEO silo site called Internet Marketing, Fact or Faked or something like that, and I put it up and it makes all the plugins. I choose my silos in GWS. I import it instantly. As long as I have the video set to my own channel, then it's going to toss up all the videos that Sue and I have done on that as placeholders. So really cool stuff. Okay.
Sanders asking when that's going to be available, and my best guess is by the end of the month. I'm just putting that out to the programmer here in the next day or two, and it kind of depends on how long. It's a pretty good size change, so it depends on how long it takes him to code it, but probably be a couple of weeks and then a week to test, so probably around the end of the month would be my guess.
And I'm sorry, Sue, I just can't help myself. Just so you guys know, like when you come to certification or any of our advanced events, including our online, these are the much more expensive courses that we offer. We have stuff that is way, way, way more advanced than that. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, it's
we're talking. We really don't distinguish between white hat and black hat anymore, because it's just not, with broadcasting as a mindset, it's an entirely different mindset than merely Google's perspective. So we are having amazing results. We're using sometimes, anywhere from 15,000 to 40,000 videos per day transmitted around the web from various locations, and that's really how you can drive massive traffic to your core money site. So sorry, I'll get back down off my soapbox. All right. So my point is, go to certification, guys, if you can, or take our online webinar, certification webinar.
You're not excited about that, are you?
I really am. Because I just, everybody wants traffic, and then everybody.
Yeah. So I have to tell you guys what happened over coffee this morning, right? That's actually the other one. Let me show you Google's latest update here. Let me just put that out to everybody, because they've recently updated this. Their page on link schemes, and they've included a couple of paragraphs that have particularly got me teed off. And I'll have more conversations, and we'll put out a formal thing by the end of the week. But I just want you guys to know that Google's really trying to make it. I can appreciate what it is that they're trying to do, but I think that they're throwing the baby out with the bathwater. And so that the thing that I really wanted to talk about this morning was this idea of free traffic, right? A lot of people come into this idea of SEO and rankings and natural search results as being a way to get free traffic. And there isn't anything that you can label as free traffic. All traffic has a cost to it. Unless it's accidental traffic, and accidental traffic usually isn't worth anything. So it doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter if you're spending time crafting your website. It doesn't matter if you're creating content and curating content. It doesn't matter if you're updating your Facebook page. It doesn't matter if you're putting out AdWords or CPA banners or what means you're going down. Some of the costs are simply more obvious because it pings your credit card and debits your account, right? The rest of them just cost you time. And if you value your time, then nothing is free. And that's been one of the premises behind Domain Web Studio. That was one of the reasons why we made you put a value on your time and talk about how long it takes you to do stuff and try to give you a price on what it costs to create your website and to get it ranked. Because that gets you out of this idea of free, right? It tries to help you evaluate the cost behind the traffic from Google or any search engine, right? The idea is if you do all of this really, really well, you'll get ranked on all the search engines, at least for some of the keywords, and you'll get more traffic that way. And I have to say that with some of the changes that Google's made recently, their cost is getting more exorbitant. So if you look back over, let's take an idea like energy, right? Electricity, natural gas, crude oil, all of the different ways that we get energy. And you'll see the fight that happens between energy and how you switch. Solar energy is another one of those, right? Solar energy was exorbitantly expensive because it was cutting edge. People were trying to recoup their investment costs. It was expensive to manufacture because there wasn't a large chunk of the population that was actually buying the products, and so the government started offering rebates so that it would lower the effective cost and people would diversify their investments in an effort to get off of some of the more expensive and more limited energy sources. So if you look at energy from that perspective, when something becomes cheap, people flock to that energy source because it's less expensive than the other ones. And so for a long time, natural search was one of the less expensive, most effective means that you could go down to get traffic. And so it became a big thing. And the thing that I want to point out at the moment is that price is rising. It's becoming more expensive to get traffic that way. And one of the things that we've been moving toward with the promotion and syndication module in Domain Web Studio is this idea of diversifying your traffic portfolio. We talk about diversifying your link portfolio, but what we're also trying to do is get you onto a multitude of platforms and help you see which platforms are driving traffic for you so that you can think outside the Google box. And I want to really start to push that concept over the course of the next 12 months. I really want everybody to think about diversifying and looking at where good quality converting traffic can come from. If you're in certain markets, pinning regularly to Pinterest can drive a whole heck of a lot of traffic. If you're in other markets, updating your Facebook, engaging people on Facebook, or if you have a particular niche where there's a few forums where people are actively engaged in a conversation about your products and services, those kinds of things can actually drive really high quality traffic and lots of it. So that's probably enough of that soapbox today. There's going to be more of it coming over the course, particularly over the course of the next 30 days, because Google's just really starting to annoy me. And I don't want to say too many things while I'm annoyed because it's just not healthy. Is there anything you want to add to that, Russ?
Yeah, no, it's good for you not to get too much into it because we're going to be establishing a philosophy, a teleology, and we have to take a stand as a company. I'm sure that many of you run your own businesses and you know that there's a philosophy or a standard that you have to set. I see Steve is here. He runs a large organization. I mean, there's things that you have to decide when things change, and I think it's okay to do this too. I'm just going to add to what you say by
Sure.
I'm not Randian. I'm not really objectivist. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Atlas Shrugged or Ayn Rand or anything like that. But very specifically to what Sue just said, there, where prices go up after a channel gets saturated. There's a particular kind of speech that was given. I think the movie was rather terrible, but you can see it on Netflix called Atlas Shrugged 2. It was a 1 and 2. It was actually pretty bad. But there was a speech in there given by the steel mogul who was unwilling to kind of be bullied by the definitions of entrepreneurialism. And I think that we're kind of facing that. Google has fast become probably the second or third largest organization in the world. And so what we have, I'm not sure that many of you know this, but it's now got the government contract for, and Sue can get into this a little bit. As soon as that happens, there's changes that are going to be happening internally that you'll be aware of over the next few months, and we'll keep you informed. Sue, having previously contracted with the government and knowing how the movement between government and private sector is kind of moves, you can predict, because of that experience, we can predict very easily the kind of changes that will come down in the ideology taught by Google as an organization. And we're not demonizing them in any way. They're still there to make money. They're still technically in the private sector. It's just that a lot of their data and the way that their philosophy behind their data is going to shift. And what's great about that as an entrepreneur, when you don't use their ethics as a yardstick to measure, is that you'll actually do better in many, many ways. In fact, if they actually start to adjust their ethics as if they're the only traffic channel out there, that's kind of the end of their monopoly in a sense, because people will begin to move into other traffic channels, which is really what Sue's changing, and we're saying, and we're actually watching that happen now and incorporating that into DWS into our channels and models. So with that, I'll get down off my soapbox on that one as well, and we'll move forward philosophically as we have really clear directives, and once our team gets together and decide, okay, how do we want to handle this change of their philosophy, and mostly where will our position be on that? We'll keep you guys informed.
So there's a couple of guys that asked some questions about the promotion and syndication module inside of Domain Web Studio. So let me just talk about that for a second. Now, this is in the Pro version, and I've done a couple of things, but I'll just start here. We've got, when you come in at the very last bit, right? You set up your website, you do your DNA, you have your team management, you do your content, you publish your blueprint, and once your blueprint is published, you come to the promotion and syndication module. Now, I'll just be really frank. This version of Domain Web Studio was our prototype, right? I think most of you guys are aware of that. And this was the last module that we did in this prototype, and it's the one that's had, because of that, it's had the fewest refinements. So it's the most difficult module to use. And we're in the process of trying to figure out how to completely revamp this and make it 1,000 times easier, because I know it's just, but the ideas behind it are sound, because what I was doing several years ago when we were trying to promote stuff, this was one of my really big sticking places. We'd come in and we'd get, we were using Google Docs at the time, and setting up accounts in all of these different promotional platforms, right? You've got article directories, you've got blog articles, you've got press release platforms. All of that's kind of under this idea of promotional, right, where you're promoting your stuff. Then you've got conversations. These are going to be social groups, social networks, social profiles, any place where you've got two-way communication. And then you've got branded platforms where you're talking about your business or your website, and so these are all places where you promote either your business or your website, and those are the kinds of things you set the account up once, you put in the information, maybe you can put in your feed for an update, and it's a set and forget. And then you've got media, and the cool thing about media is you shouldn't just stand alone in these regards. Like, if you're going to put something on YouTube, if you're going to put a video on YouTube, then you want to go back and you want to embed it in as many of these other places as you possibly can. For example, if you've got a great video and you're in a conversation that talks about the content of that video, you should just embed it if you can. In other words, link to it, right? If you've got your promotional content, if you've got a press release, or if you're promoting something on Storify or something along those lines, then embed your video, right? So media is one of those things that works best hand in hand with everything else that you do. When it comes to branded and local, more and more places can you put images and even videos. Google Places and Google Pages now lets you put in YouTube links and all of that kind of good stuff. So when you think media, you want to think about how can I go back and incorporate that into everything else that I'm doing to talk about my business, to get the word out about my website and my products and services. So over here on phase 6, inside the members area, is where we start to cover that. In phase 1, got ISDNA, you got your keywords, and in phase 2, technical foundation, your content. This pretty much mirrors this progression that you've got going up along the top here, right? So when you get to phase 6, and we're talking about the one feed, but we also talk about just setting up all of your promotions. So this map here also talks about that and kind of gives you links to different places where sometimes in some of the members area we go into more detail about some of these things. And so the idea of this is that it links to some of those other places, and it shows you how all of these links relate either to your website or to your blog. So in other words, sometimes you want to send links to your blog. Social things often relate better to a blog because it's not as hard to sell on your blog, and then other times your promotion actually goes right back to your money site. It's completely acceptable under certain circumstances, press releases and things like that. You go back to your money site. So this kind of helps to give you an idea of all of the different kinds of platforms, some of them very specific, and how you interact with your audience in that regard. Also over here on our wiki, this is something I put out about a week ago where I tried to talk to you. This is pretty much what I was just talking about, the different kinds of promotional platforms, how they relate to each other, and how all of these ideas, when you implement all of them, you end up with this result of you everywhere all the time right now, so that no matter where somebody goes, they end up running into you and running into your conversation and into what other people are engaging in a conversation with you. So this is the concept behind real market domination. You're not just dominating all the search engine results, but you're everywhere. You're ubiquitous throughout the entire internet. And it's not something that happens overnight. It's something that needs to be systematically implemented, which was my second biggest pain, right? Back here in the promotion and syndication, I want to make sure that I cover all of the keywords, in other words, all of the pains, all of my conversations. I want to talk about all of those ideas, and I want to be consistently talking about those ideas, and I want to talk about them on all the different platforms. And then you need a plan to be able to do this, or you lose it entirely. And sitting down and developing that plan, in other words, that schedule, was one of those things that made me just want to pull my hair out. So that's one of the cool things that Domain Web Studio does, is here in the promotional plan setup, you can talk about, next step down, sorry. So here you can talk about how much it's going to cost you to talk about a keyword, right? To really promote a keyword extensively enough. We look at the number of competing pages to kind of gauge the conversation, right? And so so you can pick which keywords you want to engage in the conversation, and you finalize your blueprint, and we give you a plan for the next couple of years about all of the different, I keep picking this one job where I don't actually have anything selected, but anyway, you talk about, it shows you how much it's going to cost on all the different platforms, and you can decide, you select keywords and deselect keywords until you get a cost factor based on how much it costs you to create a video, how much it costs you to create your content, how much does it cost you to promote your content. You know, once you've got content created and you want to curate it across platforms, up here in the plan settings, you put in all of those cost ideas, right? You put in all that information here, and then it gives you an estimate of what it's going to cost you, and it lays the whole thing out and gives you a calendar, month by month, week by week. You can assign it to your outsourcers. All of those, it's great, great, great concepts in order to be able to actually manage this whole thing and end up with ubiquity. So, thank you. Sandra says she's impressed. So, this actually does two things, right? Way back in the early days of your website design, when you're working with your silo framework, it's telling you how many, it's giving you an estimate of how many inbound links you're going to need to get ranked for something. And then back here where you're actually creating your inbound links, it's trying to give you the biggest bang for your buck. In other words, don't just create an inbound link, but create an inbound link someplace where it's going to drive traffic on its own. And this is just part of my frustration this morning. It's like, that's ultimately going to become more important than trying to figure out, I won't say even ultimately more important. This has been something that I've been saying for a while. You want to look at those platforms. You really want to, when you come down here, you create your content, it actually gives you a link that's got UTM codes in there that will allow you to track in Google Analytics and see which platforms are the most advantageous for your campaigns. Now, the issue that I have is that it doesn't take that information, that UTM information, all the way through to the buy button. So in other words, there's not a way to track what's going on your thank you page and link that back to these UTM codes yet. I have that spec finished. By the end of the month, I'm going to get that to the programmers. That's the next thing that we're going to do, so that we can give you analytics that tell you which ones of these platforms are the most, not only which platform is the most advantageous, but which conversations on which platforms are the most advantageous. And you might look across the board and say, hey, wow, this pane in my marketplace is the most important thing for me to talk about, because no matter what platform I'm on, this pane is the one that speaks to the marketplace. I get more conversions on that topic across all of the platforms. Or you might say, hey, wow, Facebook, the conversations that convert on Facebook are different from the conversations that convert on Pinterest, or they're different from the conversations that convert on Scoopit and Storify. And so this is going to allow you to see all of those different platforms and what concepts are actually converting money for you, which is something that Google just absolutely refuses to give you unless you pay for that information. So that's going to be a combination of a plugin and a SaaS. So you put the plugin on your blog, it's going to create, you log your campaigns in there, it's going to create all of that stuff for you, and then you put the UTM codes in Storify, Scoopit, Facebook, wherever it is. It'll give you the UTM codes to use. You don't have to think. And then when people hit your blog, it'll update the database on our servers, and you'll be able to go in after a week or two, or maybe 30 days, depending on how much traffic you get, and you'll be able to see what the results are.
Yes, I want to make sure that you're not going so fast that people. Do you guys understand? Does anybody did not understand what she just said?
Yeah, anything I need to say.
Because I made her a second pot of coffee, which clearly was a mistake.
I'm so sorry.
Hang on. Okay. Yes. Let me clarify from somebody. Do you want?
Go ahead.
Do you want to?
Go ahead.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I know you're on a roll. I don't want to. Okay. I just want to clarify what she said because it's not really clear. One of the things that we created in 2007, which was a point of contention for many of our earlier users because we didn't complete it for various reasons, is something called the perpetual keyword money machine. And the perpetual keyword money machine uses the principle that your blog should be self-feeding, your website should be self-feeding, and it should simply take the words that come in, and preferably the sources so it's grown, and then your site could theoretically grow on its own by just reporting back to you the concepts, ideas, and platforms that has an interest and increased time on site and traffic. So basically what this will do is it allows you to install a plugin on your blog or a code on your site if you don't have a blog or a WordPress platform. And a UTM code is simply a way that allows a tracking system such as Google Analytics, in this case it'll be DWS and other things, to let you know which keyword and, more importantly, what platform is actually leading to a conversion. Now, many of you know that Google Analytics has a conversion metrics funnel in there called the action funnel in Google Analytics. I don't know the level of skills. But the problem with Google Analytics, which Sue has made really, really clear in her regular rants about how frustrated she is with Google Analytics, this is amazing. Google will not tell you when you click on the referrals, they will not tell you when they track an action, meaning a sale, what platform that action or sale came from. So let's say you had 97 sales last month from Facebook. You would never know it using the Google Analytics tracking funnel, actions funnel area. if you use the thank you page setup to track your actual sales. Do you understand? Now the excuses that they make about that, which will continue to move on their continual excuses as they grow over the next 2 years about everything, is that it's a privacy violation for them to give you the actual sales tracking funnel based on the location. Even as so it's your site and you've done the work. I mean, it's really crazy. So what Sue has devised is a rather easy but very, very cool service that will work with everything else we're giving you, so that you will be able to insert your own tracking code in the plugin, and you can bypass Google's bullshit. Okay?
Yeah.
So what that means is that you will be able to know if, let's say we sell a new, plugin. If we make 97 sales coming from Facebook, 23 sales on Pinterest, 297 sales from our email campaign. Can we do email campaigns here? Yeah, we could probably
absolutely.
use the ATM code.
Absolutely.
496,000 sales from our gigantic network of WR1, WR2 sites. In other words, we will never be inhibited or limited by what Google has decided our business is worthy of knowing again. Does that make sense? Further, keywords will be incepted into the module, and you will know which keywords are used and then be able to grow your business based on those.
So here's the way that they've got UTM codes set up at the moment. You've got your campaign source, you've got your campaign medium, your team, your content, or I'm sorry, your term, your content, and your campaign name. Now, some of these are optional, but when you use them all, you've got up to 5 different ways that you can turn the data cube so that you can get the most amount of information out of it. So your source, this would be like, let's say Facebook. You're putting a link up on Facebook. So Facebook is going to be the source where the inbound link is, where you're coming from. Your campaign medium, this can be a video on your Facebook page. It can be a blog post on your Facebook page. You can get very specific. The term, this is your keyword. So if you can specify which pain it is that you're talking about in that regard. If you want to, this is talking about also about in terms of content, if you're using A/B split testing with your content, but some of these are a little bit flexible, and we're actually going to tweak some of these a little bit so that you can get a little bit more information out of it. And then last but not least is your campaign name, and that's just a handle so that you, when you're looking at your analytics, you can tell what it is that you're looking at. So what we want to do is we want to actually inject a whole bunch of information in here. We're going to give you the UTM code that you need to use. You're going to tell us some information about the campaign. We're going to give you the UTM code to use. We're going to log that campaign in our software, and then you're going to allow us to interface with your analytics so that we can get that information back out. And we're going to work with more than just Google. So if you're using something like Piwik, yeah, we'll probably have 2 different things that we use in the beginning, and then we can expand out from there. But for those of you that hate Google Analytics and you want to use something else, I want to provide you guys an option for that. But you're going to be able to...
Quickie as well.
Right. And you're going to be able to reach into your analytics and grab that information, and then because we know the information that we gave you the UTM code for before, we're going to be able to give you reports from each of the 5 sides of this data cube. Right? So we'll be able to tell you what's converting, what's not converting. Are you getting clicks? And are you getting conversions on each of these 5 different data points? So this has been a long time in the coming, and I actually want to make it standalone for folks who have not been fortunate enough to use Domain Web Studio from the absolute get-go. I don't want to leave you guys out in the cold, or if for you guys who are SEO firms, if you've got a client that came to you after the website was built, I want to give you guys an opportunity to be able to use this reporting system without having to go through that. But obviously there will be advantages. If you've got your website inside of Domain Web Studio, I know what keywords it is that you're tracking, and I can give you additional information based on that. So,
okay. Great. Okay.
All right. I'm
Thank you, Sue. I know you're excited about that. So let's go ahead and jump into the purpose of this call, which is we want to take any questions and or
review a website, or if you
do you have any website reviews that you would like to address? If you brought, it was really BYO, bring your own website, BYOW. So rather than get too much of this call being on stuff that's coming. I want to make sure that we really address your issues right now.
Yeah.
Just tracking is ultimately one of the big issues, and we just want to make sure that you guys are aware that this is very, very short in coming, that the perpetual keyword tracking and referral site tracking system with action funnels is really the end-all and be-all. Just so you guys know, if you haven't been in an SEO and online traffic development for software over the last 5 years, it is the holy grail. This is why there's so much protection around it and a lot of denial of services and these types of things. It's really tricky, but not that hard, but it's political. So our goal is to make sure that you have exact knowledge of what's converting and what's not. So who's got a website for us to toss into the fire? Let's put you over the fire. Who's got
I got the coals.
We got the coals, we got the fire, you've got all kinds of things. No, just kidding. We want to help you. Do you have anything specific? Let's get
or other questions. If you guys don't have a website that you want us to review, we can.
Yeah, everybody's all distracted now by the bomb that you just dropped.
It was a bit
so they're like asking stuff about the software, which doesn't exist yet. Oh, here's one. It's partially done. Okay, let's look. Stephen, you're looking at
glamthing.com.
Wow, that domain is really hard for me to read.
It's a glam thing.
Okay, it's a glamthing.com. I can see it now. Guys, when you buy domains, look at it from a marketing perspective, not just from a keyword perspective. I'm not saying it's bad, Stephen. I'm just saying that your niche probably will recognize it right away. But also keep in mind, like, look at it, like, write it down on a piece of paper. Look at it from the perspective of impact. One of the things you want to ask yourself, are there 2 letters in the domain that are side to side that confuse? Can I give you guys a perfect example of a faux pas that I made? It's kind of funny. In fact, even theme zoom sometimes when people read it, if they don't know who we are, they think the, right? They see the.
Yeah, the me zoom.
Yeah, the me, and I'm like, really? Okay, and that's okay. I mean, that's a brand. So, but the thing is that you really have to watch that. Another one I have is oneringtorulethemall.com is one we own. It's an educational placeholder. And people think it's one ring to rule them all, like when you go to the mall and shop at different stores. I've gotten that consistently. So make sure that you address that and you look at the issues of what multiple words might be nested in there just right in the beginning, especially if you're in a WR1 site. If you're in a WR1, really pay close. One ring to rule them all. One ring to rule them all is a WR2. It's a very secondary, tertiary site. If you're dealing with a primary site, make really, really sure that people read it, they understand it, show it to your friends before you focus on that. Okay. So let's go ahead and look at the structure of the site.
All right. So my first impression at the top is there's a lot of color, a lot of distractions. If you're trying to make me do one particular thing, I don't know what it is.
First thing people want to click is that banner, but they're not sure if they want to because it seems like an ad.
Right.
Is that banner converting, Stephen? Is this a WR2 or W1? What's your intent? Okay, really not your site. It's not your site? Oh, then why are we looking at it?
Yeah, from really not my...
oh, okay. Oh, so this is a secondary site. Well, that's good, yeah. Is it an auto blog? Looks like an auto blog to me. Stephen, is this an auto blog? Is this a video blog? They have a lot of bloggers. Okay. Oh, these are all the... Oh, there's the bloggers. Interesting. Huh. So many women, so badly designed. That's unusual. Gosh, they could make such a... I'm wondering if the purpose of this blog, Stephen, is the monetization. Like when you see a banner that high, can I get on a soapbox for a second?
Sure.
When you see a banner that high on the site, for me, this looks like one of my WR2 sites or one of my one of Sue and my many auto video blogs that drives thousands of visitors, right? Because you're going to find that that's stuffed right in front of people's faces. So that leads me to believe that that's one of the primary call to actions on this site. So Sue, if you can hover over that, is there a UTM code or a call to action or something? I mean,
this thing here?
Yeah.
This goes to Dreamweavers and dreamwaxers.com.
Can we right-click open? Just wondering, I mean, just so you guys know, the way that's in Sue and Mai's model, Sue and Mai's, is that proper grammar? Man, I need more coffee. In our model, this site better damn well be the WR1.
Yeah.
If you've got a banner that high up, especially when you've got that many writers, this better be their primary source of income. Because in a broadcasting model, everything is driving upstream, right? You guys understand that? Because you're going to rank using a silo structure for all those things, plus you're going to be having regular updates on the blog and the rest. So we have done some numbers based on margins, which is one of the reasons we're just talking about this tracking system, is you really have to make sure that the money that you're making with that traffic when it comes off site is focused on two things: building the brand, broadcasting the primary message, which leads to the highest back-end sale, and that your margins are as high as possible. Because see that cherry dream wax to go, it's front and center, not only with color, it's completely pulling in the behavior. So just make sure that the numbers, the beautiful thing about the WR2, the WebRing model that Sue set up, is that it's not really so much about setting up web rings that are Google and friendly or whatever. It's really about driving your branding, your call to action, your traffic, your conversion, and your higher margin products to the center of your traffic hub. So that's my first criticism on that. Is like, man, that's monetized really distractively.
Yeah. I mean, when I had a website and everything above when I hit a website and everything above the fold is sending me somewhere else, it makes me think that whoever put together this site doesn't actually value the content on this site itself.
And yeah, precisely, which is truly bizarre, because it's giving an indication that there's like something like umpteen authentic female writers writing in this industry.
Right.
That's a little weird unless they're actually using a service like Blogger, what's it called, Blog Rent. There's several blog services that allow you to send content, and maybe they're just lying about the writers. I don't know. That happens too. You see fake profile. I don't know. To me, this is like they need to really think through. One of the things you could do, Stephen, actually, you could, if you pull them in as a client, you could, why not use DWS Pro? I'm not sure what you mean, Ricky. In order to use DWS Pro, you have to understand the construct of the. Yeah, of course.
It's an ongoing conversation.
Oh, I'm not even looking. I'm sorry, guys. I didn't mean to, excuse me. I can see you've been talking to. What I'm trying to address here, Stephen, is for you is you have an opportunity here for high-level coaching or high-level mentoring or consulting, rather. Sorry, because it's very unlikely that they're thinking clearly about the purpose of their overall network. And these guys they need to really be thinking about what the purpose of this site is. We can't really tell if they have any tracking codes on, just at a few things. This is clearly not their primary site, and they need to be thinking about the real estate, the conversion, the neuromarketing of the on-page conversion for this site. If they really truly have that many writers working for this, they have deeply under-optimized their click-through. So that's what I would say.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with you there.
Let's look at the technical structure then, Sue, aside from all the conversion.
All right.
Besides the persuasion architecture.
I mean, okay, because I would say the one other comment that I'd make about this is if you want for guys to know about these blogs that are advertised here, I'd be inclined to put them in a sidebar and not make them front and center. And whatever it is that's the most important thing up here, leave that there and then get to your faces. I would probably stick that underneath and get to the engagement factor. But that's it depends on what your purpose for the site is, what it is you're really
correct,
trying to do.
And I want to point out that again and again, guys, is that we have no idea. This leads me to believe that they have a very high-end margin for System 41, the ad. They have a very high affiliate margin for Lisa Kokuza, like maybe they sold her ad space. And if that's all, that's the one exception I would make to this, and Dreamweaver. And if these companies, if you have a direct relationship with them, and your margin is incredibly high, I know why you stuffed those things up there at the top. All right, because if you're receiving $90 a sale or $400 a sale, it's very tempting to do that. But we have shown in our experience that even when you have those high margins, a reorganization of the behavioral matrix and the time on site can increase. Because you will get actually a bounce rate, regardless of what you're getting paid for those product conversions, pretty high if the blog doesn't seem authentic. All right. So that's all the neuroscience there, the cybernetics, if you will, and hopefully you guys understand that. Like, don't make it so promotional up front that you lose your long-term traffic. And more importantly, if the time on site, if you do a split test where you see these take the banners off the top side and then put them back on, what you'll probably see is a reduction of time on site, at least on that index page, that's significant. And if you don't in your test, well then heck, you're fine. Another thing is, like on your deeper pages like Sue has here, if your bounce rate is lower, maybe they're counting on people moving upwards from the pages to that index page. So maybe the deeper pages have a lower bounce rate and the upper pages a high bounce rate. So it depends on how they're driving their traffic. How do you see the structure, Sue, like the technical?
Not bad.
Good. So for technical analysis, it's not doing bad.
No, I mean, interestingly enough, okay, so they have a drop-down video, which normally I say don't do that, right? But each thing in the drop-down video is actually a page under the root. It's actually a silo. So they've just kind of siloed their silos, or grouped their silos, which is fine. That's an interesting idea. Sure. And then these, the blogs of all of the different people seem to be subdomains, which is cool. Mm-hmm. And then these seem to be the categories, or at least one of these, this one, Pro Advice, those seem to be categories on the blogs. And sponsors, let me just grab one of these. Yeah, so even their sponsors have got a page on the site, giveaways, last month winners. Yeah, it's not bad.
And that page rank flow seems to be working. I mean, those sub pages, they've got page rank.
Right. Yeah, they're not doing anything strange. They're not cross-linking. When they cross-link, they cross-link to the silo landing page. They're not cross-linking to a deep page. And if you come down in here, cool. The only thing I would say is that their stuff isn't too deep, but that's okay too.
So who made the site, Stephen? Did you build it? Because it's not a bad job technically. Own it, baby.
Does the main menu structure theme bleed? No, it doesn't actually. It's because the main menu structure all leads to pages that are right under the root. It's not theme bleeding.
Right. Greg is asking, can you speak about the cross-linking comment?
Oh, there was one place I think it was here. Nope, not there. It wasn't taking me off that page. Hang on. Oh, it was under events. I was looking at events, and it must have been the other one under events. TV appearances, maybe. Yeah, and they had a list of TV appearances, and then this is the only place where they really cross-link in kind of sort of a bad way. They're taking me to other specific videos under the video channel, but because their video silo is called video, and I don't really think that they're intending on ranking for the term video, it's not a huge faux pas.
Yeah, they should they should also think about naming that category, the video material that they're going after.
Right, yeah, if they categorize that, which they might have these videos also. If it were me, I would have the videos also embedded in blog posts.
Totally.
Here under like beauty, health, fashion, and lifestyles, I would be putting each of the appropriate videos and blog posts over there. Okay. So since these are just linking right smack to the video pages, that's not a big deal.
Well, I'd also like to preface my earlier comments about their persuasion architectures that probably you guys have gathered if you've taken our material, our coaching or mentoring or certifications or our members area, that without knowing the business model, like the back end, what's really going on and where they make their money, I can't really give, I'm guessing, on their conversion architecture. And Sue just covering the technical architecture, it looks like we've seen much worse, sounds like what you're saying, Sue.
Yeah.
So. They make their money with product placement, probably in video, right, Stephen? So they probably have some high-end deals with those banners that they've got at the top, probably high-end margins. So that's all understandable. Okay, cool. That's even more bizarre, Stephen. If they've got TV and magazine deals, they have even more. They have even less of a reason to saturate the above the fold with ads.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's a whole branding issue. I take issue with it because people don't know how much money they're leaving on the table with engagement and long-term returning customers. Anyway, I'm off my horse, my high
Okay.
horse. That's good. Anybody else? Oh, there was somebody else. Let's go ahead and jump from Stephen. It's good to see you.
ColorMeHappyBoutique.com.
Yeah. Stephen, it's good to see you. Thanks for sharing, and I hope
Yeah.
everything's going well for you. Stephen was one of our way early, like the first certification event we ever had. I believe he was there.
Yeah.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
you got the right guy.
Yeah, he's a long time been hanging with us.
All right, so Bob
Okay.
has given us this site. It's an Xcart e-commerce site. Let me just see if Bob made any other comments. I don't see any.
Oh yeah, that is Xcart. I haven't seen that in a while. Gosh, I remember the first version of Xcart, Sue, that we dealt with in
Yep.
2000. Holy mackerel. Can't believe it.
Way back in 1988.
Out of the box, it was like, that was when I first started learning about coding with you, and you were like, remember Jasper and all those guys?
Yep.
Yeah, so we've seen Xbox evolve through the, Xcart rather, Xbox, resolve for, so what do you think? This is obviously a shopping cart. This is big e-commerce. Not terrible. I like the fact that they have the girls actually, the model girls actually dressed.
Mm-hmm.
It's always better to do that.
Nice colors for kids site.
Not bad at all. Yeah.
And you got the revolving thing that attracts interest.
Yeah.
Free summer sale, free shipping, all really easy to see.
Yep.
Phone numbers. It's a really easy page to parse with my eyes. I like that.
Yeah, very well, very nicely laid out. When you have to do an e-commerce site, you could do a lot worse.
Yeah. You got testimonials down here, so you got a little bit of trust building going on. All right. Halloween dresses, Christmas dresses, Easter dresses, 4th of July dresses. Oh, this is Bob.
Is it Bob as in technical
This is
certification, Bob?
Bob, yeah.
Hey, Bob, not bad.
Yeah, not bad.
I mean, I can't criticize you for not thinking big. It's definitely not. So let's take a look at what he's been doing. Now that I have a little bit of background, because I met you on the coaching call the other day. And so this is a good opportunity, Bob, to look at branding in general. Can I tell you, honestly, I'm super biased, and I have different biases than Sue. Hopefully all of you have seen our glossary entry on persuasion architecture versus SEO architecture. I like both of them. I like to use them both together. Persuasion architecture, Bob, you're still going to do better on this site as you begin to channel. Go ahead and go over to leancanvas.com and do your whole business canvas. And it only takes like 20 minutes or so. And Sue and I do that fairly regularly, and you'll get and do it for a product, not for a business startup. Look at your specific products lines with leancanvas.com. And what's really cool is if you put a video on there. I don't know. I think I would like you to look a little bit more at branding, more socially. I love that you have a follow us on Facebook thing there, but remember that your market is women's market, and your market is grandparents' market. It's kind of different than just going for a raw SEO and all that. So if you could become more personable, even with a branded, the only reason that sticks on my mind is you expressed to me that your wife, I think, is behind the company. Is that correct, Bob? Because your wife is behind the company, I'm not saying that she has to be the spokesperson, but I would like you to think out. This is stuff that Matt and Sue and I don't teach in Matt's current course. It's more of the branding stuff. That's not really what that course that you're taking is about. It's technical. The branding course and coaching that we do is really an important piece, and really be thinking about whether you want a personal brand or you want a shield brand. And right now you have just a shield. It's general. You're not representing it with a person or somebody that the market would like, know, and trust. I would like you to maybe consider the possibility of making your stuff more personable, because you're going to really excel in the technical, like you're getting it down. And again, Sue will look into the technical. But maybe consider the branding aspect of communicating with the women's market via video when they hit this site. That's all that I'm saying. And please also see us at some point, maybe privately. Sue and I are looking at some pretty amazing Pinterest technologies. You should be driving at least 3 to 5% of your traffic from Pinterest with this.
Absolutely.
Okay, and we'll show you how to do it. So contact Matt, and then, or actually, how should he? Yeah, contact Matt and let him know that about this conversation. And a couple things I can show you will give you a 4 or 5% traffic boost. Okay, once Sue and I work out the specific method we're testing right now. Okay, but Bob, seriously, branding, you're leaving 10 to 20% of your current revenue on the table by non-female market personal impact branding missing. So think about how you want to do that.
Women's markets in particular, they like to connect. Since you got a woman behind the company, man,
this is a particular thing.
I'd put her face right up here. I'd have.
Well, hang on. We don't know enough to say that. Okay.
All right.
This is particular stuff that I coach on personally through Network Empire, and it's probably, I know that it's just not something that is in the technical coaching. So Sue and I both do this on day 4 and 5 of Network Empire, and before you answer excellent, that's my point. Like, where the hell is she, Bob?
Right. 100% family owned and operated. I want to picture your family, including the dog.
Yeah. Now, Bob, I also understand if there are people that do have an issue with putting themselves forward, and they want to remain level 2. In other words, they're looking towards. Here's the way you think about it, everyone. If you're moving towards a liquidity event, if it's built to sell, and you don't want to find yourself in the situation that Mary Kay found herself in, at Mary Kay Cosmetics, okay, where she was actually part of the brand when it sold. Okay, that happens all the time. Oprah, anything that's branded by a family or spearheaded by a family, there's issues about when you're sold, you don't want to tie yourself to the brand. Okay. The thing is that there's a lot of ways to deal with that these days. If you don't tie your face to the brand, like Colonel Sanders or this or that, that's another level of tying yourself to the brand. Like when Kentucky Fried Chicken was sold, the royalties and his own personal brand was part of the package when it was sold. All right. I know that sounds a little bit weird, but these are things that you have to think about.
Yeah.
For example,
absolutely.
Sue and I went to a conference with Hearst Media, who owns Dr. Oz and owns Oprah and several other things. And talking to the CEO of the traffic and royalties department there was really interesting for me because I didn't know how they did that. You would think that when Dr. Oz signs a contract, or when Hearst Media buys a major personality and or a personable brand like that, they have wired into it an insurance clause and an ownership clause and a royalties clause for that person. First of all, to cover their own butt, so that if it's ever sold, or actually if anything ever happens to Dr. Oz, and he's the main source of the revenue stream, or he's the brand champion, they're kind of covered based on an insurance policy and other things like that, which I find really interesting. So businesses of your size, Bob, you just want to make sure that you're aware that is putting your family-owned, putting your personal brand, putting that inside of all that, is that a worthwhile? Is it worth the 15 to 20%? Easy. It could be much more. 15 to 20% increase of sales, trust, what we call reputation capital. When you put all that on the table, is it worth the increase of sales you're going to get to do that? And then deal with all that as if you move towards a liquidity event. You can just go ahead and write that into the contract during the sales of the business. And there's several ways that can be done when you look at that professionally. Okay, so I understand, Bob, you're trying to build to sell. However, you have a major decision. If you're keeping what I call the reputation capital out of this because you're built to sell, my recommendation would be that you still build to sell, increase the family personality, the reputation capital, and then just write that into the clause during the liquidity event, and you'll be fine. In other words, you can say things like, you don't get to take my family with you if you buy the site, or you can just sell the technical aspects based on the technical the direct revenue of the site. All right? We're just keeping things simple. Also, Bob, please do see a video on TED called by Rachel. I really want him to see that. It's actually on our wiki. I'll drop the link here for you, Bob, in a second, and Sue will go into the technical. And that link is on our wiki about reputation capital. Take a look at Rachel's video on that and then decide how you can brush up the branding a little bit to be more trustworthy. Are you there, Sue?
Yeah, I am. I'm sorry. Okay, I've looked at a whole bunch of things. Most things are really great, really cool. You've got some absolutely amazing pictures that jump out at me a lot easier on the Facebook page than they do on your website, but I think it's just because I can scroll and see all the kids. But it was really here on the Facebook page that I started to see how incredible the detail in the dresses are. That didn't come across nearly so much. I don't know if it's just because these images by default are a little bit smaller, but it didn't jump off the page at me. And the other thing I was looking for is to see if you've got any kind of, I don't know how many sales you make. It might not be advantageous, but it seems like some kind of a star rating system where you could get the rating actually in the search engine too might be highly advantageous.
Yeah, so let me...
If you don't have a lot of traffic and you don't have a lot of people writing testimonials about the products, then that might be something that will have to come later when you get more traffic. But
yeah, this is a very interesting case, Bob, because I've been in several situations like the one that you're in, where our friend Ramona, who Sue and I have worked extensively with, as a former model, so it's not a problem getting her in front of a camera, in front of a video, so it's like she's everywhere, and you're saying your wife has a hard time doing that. So this is where the branding stuff comes in. And there's a lot of variables when you're dealing with a brand champion, is what that's called. And I'm kind of sold on getting a brand champion on the current internet because it's where things are going. I'm going to go ahead and drop this link called Reputation Capital somewhere here where everybody can get at it. Oh, it's in the chat section. So all I got to do is drop it here. And maybe consider that a little bit. That's the entire audience. If everybody would just consider that a little bit, about how we can best make our sites appear a little bit more social, even our e-commerce sites. It's beneficial. I wonder if it would be okay if I dropped dropped Jim and the Northline site here as a consideration. Sue, what do you think?
yeah, I did. I missed what you talked about them. Sure,
really?
Go for it.
I must be pretty incoherent.
No, today. I was really involved in looking at the site, actually.
Oh, gotcha. Thank you. You're checking out the technical.
Yeah.
Okay. We had some clients on longtime Network Empire. We still do. A company called, this might be helpful for you, Bob. I'm talking about persuasion architecture, not technical architecture. Okay, we're going to get into that here shortly. It's called northlineexpress.com. And they've been clients of ours for a while, and we're currently not working on their site specifically, but we went through some iterations with them because they do pretty hardcore testing. And even the Robin Joe's Buy and Try, which I helped them do on that site, I suggested that they make it more personable. They still remain, Bob, a really core e-commerce site, but just that one addition massively increased behaviors and conversions. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and drop that link for everybody. Oh, thanks, Sue. Yeah. Drop that link for everybody, entire audience. It was at our urging that they just made the site a little bit more human, okay? Partially because one of their competitors was doing it extremely effectively. In fact, each department on one of their large competitors had a person that worked in that department or that division representing that silo because they had such a wide array. They had fire and hearth, they had wood choppers, they had all kinds of stuff. And they were doing much better in the search engines, and they had a lot more traffic. So by adding a little bit more of a person to the brand, they can still keep northlineexpress.com as their upper left-hand corner, kind of like you're doing, Bob, but they had some kind of Like it might be if you could get your wife to do, Mary's pics or whatever, so that she doesn't, and you express that she's really tight about her pictures and being online and shy. If you could get her to do even one, so that the whole shopping center is represented by a woman who's done a lot of the, her favorites, her sorting, her opinions. She doesn't necessarily have to be a video on every page, but even a little bit of humanization of the index page will increase sales profoundly, because we know that from Northline Express and many other clients we've had. Okay?
Yep.
And back to you, Sue.
Sandra asked about brand champion, and is that an outside person?
This is called spokespersoning. You guys have probably seen a lot of the website spokespersons products out there, and this and that, where the website spokesperson is the lower right-hand part of the page and makes it seem more human. Those generally do well for technology industries, and I don't have huge amounts of metrics on them. But my hunch is going to be that based on other metrics that I have, is that personal, even amateur. The reason I know this is, again, Northline Express. There's a video that Northline Express used on one of their sales pages that is Rob, Joe's dad, who he's at home in his backyard with a video camera showing how the mosquito vacuum works. And, it's kind of funny. He sets it down and it sucks all the mosquitoes into it, right? That video is responsible for tens of thousands of dollars worth of mosquito vacuum sales, all right? Like way above and beyond like a corporate, stagnant, professional video, like breaking down the parts and, showing you like the QVC, like, video TV things, like, because it's an amateur video. Oh, you've seen Sandra's seen that video, the mosquito vac. And the charm behind the amateur approach, when placed appropriately in the context of a professional site, I already know works because I know the specific numbers behind that. So that might be one of the things you want to consider. There's a time to do amateur videos and there's a time not to. Product demonstrations, especially if there's a novelty factor, is very helpful to increasing sales. And of course, the context of that video is still very professional on their site. They still have the product, they still have the listing, right? They still have a professional breakdown of the product. But my point is that when people see it and they see that it's, wow, it's Rob from Northline Express, he drinks his own Kool-Aid, right? And there's all that. That's what I'm trying to get at here, Bob. And it's even more important than worrying about branding. And if you're able to convince her to get one photograph as a company leader on that page, and then you drive it towards, her picks, her favorites, her products, you'll increase your sales.
Let me talk for just a couple of minutes about one of the things that we cover rather extensively in certification, and that is the start with why concept. Okay, the person who actually owns the company has an energy about that company that no employee is ever going to have. Right there, it's a part of them. They created it for a reason. They have a why. The why might be obfuscated to even them, but they have a why. And it's when they do a video, even if they don't like to get in front of the camera, there's something that's imparted through that video that nobody else for the company that works for the company is going to be able to express. They're going to have a sincerity, an energy, some of those things that are available on a neurological level, but not really well understood how it communicates, that is going to talk to the potential buyer in a way that no professionally created video is going to be able to touch. And so when we talk about a spokesperson, if you can get the owner to be the spokesperson, if that's a viable option, it's going to have a much better rapport, at least it has the potential, depending on the owner, to have a much, much better rapport with the potential customers than a video that's created in another means. So, yeah, there are a lot of companies that have a third-party spokesperson, but I believe Russ talks a lot about macro trends, and one of the macro trends we've got is, what is it, sincerity. What is that? That kind of an idea.
if you guys want to take a 1,000-foot view, I didn't plan on getting into this, but where the web is going is every human being on Earth is going to have a personal channel. And what's happening is we're moving more and more towards authenticity. And the authenticity frame and is actually, the web is also subjective to that. And we talk about this actually in the 7th day or the 6th day of our certification event. And the reason it's important to understand is that as digital technology replicates via impersonal means, what's happened is in this next iteration that we're going in through is really, really trust-based. As social begins to penetrate the marketplace, that's why I dropped the link on reputation capital that Rachel Botman's talking about.
Yeah.
What's happening now is the human brain and just the human spirit in general begins to look towards people. The web just becomes another mechanism of communication, another one. The difference is it can be used one-to-many, but it's also a mechanism of communicating trust equity and reputation equity. And we're moving into a time, it's moving so quickly that even some of the best social neurologists, neurosocial experts of our time who I follow are having a difficult time keeping up because we don't have any precedents. But just suffice it to say very simply that people are very aware of the difference between an authentic communication from a person who has the real idea, that has the passion, that has the communication, and somebody who's hired to convey that.
Yeah.
So for example, Sandra asks me, an example of when would you not use an amateur video? Selling commercial airplanes? Well, there's a lot. I can sell you a commercial airplane right now with an amateur video.
Yep.
But I'm a good salesman. But the key is to make sure that there's a gentleman called McLuhan who talks about the medium being the message. It's good if you look him up and start reading a little bit about him, because he was talking about media. We're actually dealing with what's called contextual media, where the context of the information becomes as important or equally important as the information itself. And we're moving into an era that human beings now have become this close factor. So a big corporate, even corporations are actually getting this, Sandra. For example, Nestle, the CEO of Nestle, one of the largest food corporations in the world, actually came out and did a live amateur interview. It's kind of a professionally done interview, but the point is he's saying a whole lot of things in this interview that is now being syndicated and even on their site that 15 years ago no major multinational company would ever incorporate into their business model.
Right.
And what's happened, and that's an example of just mind-blowing, literally 15 years ago, a corporate CEO at a corporation of that size would never even dream that the day would come where CEOs at that level would be doing just off-the-cuff kind of interviews. So the reason I'm communicating to this is that we're in an environment where it's so easy to get information and reputation capital is so important that companies and corporations like Monsanto can be brought down in 2 years based on social media campaigns that are negatively attributed to them, whether or not the information is true or not. Okay, and so a lot of what's going to happen is people just simply have to address their products and their services. And what's happening is CEOs are just getting fed up with buying spokespersons because all that spokespersons do, folks, is read a script. Okay, so the answer to the question would be, when should you use an amateur person and not? Okay, an amateur person like a video spokesperson or website spokesperson is when you're in a technology or you're in a product or service that's not lifestyle. Okay, you can write that one down. If you're not in a lifestyle product, you're something very clinical, maybe you're business to business, maybe you're a software and nobody in your software company even knows how to talk to human beings because they're all geeks. That's an example. There are some people that should just literally should not do an amateur video, all right? You won't understand anything that they say. It's just not somebody you want to interview, like the Perl programmer in the back room or the server IT guy, right? He just may not be presentable at all to the world. On the other hand, you have to really look at that. There might be a situation where he totally is because most of your audience is geeks anyways, and they get him. So it's a very strange environment where when do you choose between personality and a non-amateur video with hiring somebody to communicate your message. Lifestyle marketing, there is almost no exception to this rule. In a lifestyle marketing company, lifestyle marketing is trying to make people's lives better, trying to provide information and hope and vision questing. These types of things, it's almost always better to come from the founder or somebody who can communicate. even if you have to give that founder or representative cheat sheets or a teleprompter or whatever, it's almost always better to be able to do that. We've seen massive conversions when that's added, just even a small. And if they can't do a video, you can still do a company story with an image of the founder. That founder just absolutely cannot talk and video. Do an image of the founder, and then just write his why statement. And the why statement is something I always take my coaching students through in the first day, because literally that why statement can become, why is this company in business? The why statement is, why are you doing this? How do you do it that's distinct from anyone else? And oh, by the way, want to buy one, rather than the, but this is what we sell. Here's how we do it. And why are we doing it? We're not too sure. Social media has had an impact on the world, and what it is that it's a lot more socially driven. So, we get into this in our advanced certification course. Just know, guys, that you have to really weigh carefully how you communicate your overall message. And this is really branding. This is not technical SEO. And we do both. And that's what makes us so different.
Yeah. So, to wrap back around to the website, the one thing I've noticed is, and this is the only thing, it's not a real fault, but it's just the one thing that I noticed, and it might be a limitation to this particular shopping cart, but like I'm here under girls Halloween dresses sets, and all of the actual clothes under here go right back up under the root. So what that means is that it's a virtual silo site rather than actually keeping that category here in the middle of the URL string. It's not the hugest deal in the world, but it will keep you from ranking quite as well for girls Halloween dresses sets. That's the biggest thing, is that, well, let me just go back here for a second. Do you have a fascinating? So you've got in the I came at this through Halloween dresses, and in the clearly I haven't had quite enough coffee yet this morning, and the links up here at the top, it goes back up here to these categories as opposed to sticking to the way that I came to it through the Halloween dresses. Breadcrumbs, that was the word I was looking for. And so that's really going to make it harder for you to rank for these keywords. Now, I don't know which set of keywords is the set of keywords that you really want to rank for. Obviously, you usually have to make a choice when you've got a shopping cart site, and nearly all shopping carts have got products that fall under more than one category. And you have to provide those categories because people think differently. People come to the site looking for different things, and if they're looking specifically for Halloween dresses, they need to be able to click on that and see all the Halloween stuff. And on the other side of it, if they're looking for baby girls' clothes under a couple of years, they need to be able to do that and see all of those clothes. So there's always a trade-off there. You always have to make a decision, and then that becomes the canonical URL up at the top. Let me just look at your page. Well, it's not a canonical. You're canonical. You don't need a canonical because you don't bother to include this concept in the URL string, so you avoid that whole canonical issue. But it just makes it that much more difficult to link for Halloween dresses, because when you get down here, you don't have anything that links back up to Halloween dresses. Does that make sense? And you ask if that means you should switch. This is one of those when you're looking at Domain Web Studio and you're looking at the value of those keywords, you're looking at the searches on each one of those keywords, and you're deciding what it is that you want to rank for, what it is you need to rank for. That's when you make those kind of decisions as to whether or not having the entire URL string, having the category embedded in that, is a good thing or not. And having to deal with, typically I would say yes. Typically if you've got the canonical, it's going to make it easier for you to rank for one set of keywords, and if it's clear which set of keywords you want to rank for, then yes. If none of these categories are all that meaningful, or it's 6 of one, half a dozen of another, then you can set it up the way you have it. I didn't see your blueprint, so I can't speak to that particular thing. There's just a lot of situations where you go, it depends. How long have you had the site? Yeah, how long have you had the site up, and are you ranking for anything yet? You got a PR1 on the site itself. Do you rank for any of these particular terms? Any of your silo terms yet? While you're answering that, I'm trying to think of if I've got another question. I think other than that, the site's gorgeous. I like it. It's very nice. The other thing that I would say is it would be really cool if the level of detail on those dresses could pop a little bit better. If maybe like when I actually click in here, if that image could take up a little bit more space, maybe not have as much white space around it or something along those lines, just so that I could see that detail as well as I could see it over here. I don't know how possible that is, or maybe if a rollover would like light box it or something like that, just so that I could become aware of really how fantastic these clothes are. Because, for example, I'm looking at this and I'm thinking that it's like pleated, right? It's not until I click on it that I see all of that's like little pieces of lace. It's beautiful clothes. They're really, really, really cool. Oh, I was scrolled halfway up the screen. I'm sorry. Let me scroll back down here and see what Bob's been saying. Is there a shopping cart that best fits with DWS? You know, I've been playing with a lot of shopping carts for the last couple of years, and I haven't found one that I in particularly like. We've had somebody working on an interface with Magento, but Magento's got its own set of problems, so I don't know that I really want to express a preference for it. I just started working with WooCommerce, and that seems like a really cool platform, but I haven't worked with it long enough to say it ranks easily or not.
Making any sales on this, Bob, yet? Or are you just still ramping up?
And ramping.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, well, let's see here. It's been about an hour and a half,
Yeah.
so we're probably going to need to wrap this up.
Mostly sales on Amazon. I can appreciate that because they got a lot of traffic there already, so it's probably a whole lot easier to do.
I'm not following that. What is sales on Amazon?
Most of his sales at the moment are on Amazon.
Yeah, Bob, are you using fulfillment by Amazon, or are you just using it as a listing source?
Yeah, we'll have a replay.
Yeah, well, we're going to replay this, guys. Partially?
Partially. Okay, so it's partial fulfillment by Amazon. I tell you, I'll just talk about Amazon for a nanosecond. I like, there's so many advantages for fulfillment by Amazon. Prime, they're really starting to push their Prime membership, which means I've got free shipping in 2 days, right? I can have anything that's Prime in 2 days in my hot little hands, and I don't have to pay anything for it. So if today is Monday and my party's on Thursday, I can get that dress in my hands before the party, and I don't have to pay anything for it. So they're doing a whole bunch of things really, really right, and they're, just because of their size, they can do a lot fairly effectively and efficiently, and I'm watching it put a lot of the little guys out of business, a lot of the little websites out of business when they stock stuff that's also stocked on Amazon. So on the one hand, like if it's something that's if it's a product that's ubiquitous and everybody and their dog can carry it on Amazon, then it's really tough. But where you've got such a specialty market, I think it's great. Amazon will probably be a really great avenue for you.
Yeah, I left you guys a course that I really like from a friend of mine, Jim Cochran, on Amazon. Fulfillment by Amazon is pretty good. There's limits to Amazon. It's not the perfect thing in the world, but for most people, it's as close to getting big they'll ever get.
So Ricky makes a point about the one-click upsells, which doesn't help the actual product owner. Now, here's the interesting thing. If you do your packaging right, and embedded in your packaging, you actually advertise your website and the advantages of actually buying through the product owner, then you can actually get them back around to your site. But you got to think ahead.
Yeah, we always throw a catalog in ours.
Yeah, but that's only if you're doing the shipping, right? If you're actually doing fulfillment by Amazon, then you got to think ahead, and you got to have your promotional material actually included in the packaging that you're in the package that you give Amazon to.
Right, and they offer a service like you can drop ship and then you can still get the catalog in there.
Right.
If you're having the company drop ship it, they can put it in for you if you have that relationship with the vendor.
Through Amazon?
Yep.
Cool.
And that's talked about on the link that I just sent.
Okay, great.
Cool.
All right.
This is really weird because you can use it as both like a cross between a drop shipper and a pre-packaged thing.
Right.
It's really strange. All right, you guys.
Okay.
Thank you very much for everything. And Sue, do you have anything to? So just a quick review of this entire call. Bottom line is great things coming. Second thing is we're annoyed at Google, and we see major philosophic changes happening in their definition of what you can't do as it turns into a socialist regime, fascist regime actually. The third thing is that we have all kinds of solutions for that, and they'll of course get the fruits of that as they change. We have a new software coming called PKMM, Perpetual Keyword Money Machine. It's just simply a fancy way, kind of a markety way of talking about a UTM code. Mm-hmm. And the UTM code is the way so that you guys will be able to track the locations that buying customers are actually coming through in the action funnel, instead of the limitations that Google Analytics just for legal reasons can't provide. And then there's amazing changes coming to, we got the free plugin download, which is siloblogbuilder.com, which you can download that thing for free right now and use the manual version of the Silo plugin. And of course, the free version has the manual version, and you'll have to decide that the keyword is whatever you want it to be. And of course, you can use DWS and Kraken to import that silo structure, siloblogbuilder.com, which is amazing. So go ahead and feel free to grab that. And we have a new plugin coming out fairly shortly, which will slap videos on each one of those pages, either from your own personal channel, your client's channel, or from YouTube in general, so that you can use it as a video squatter, so you get indexed faster and higher rankings right out of the gate. So that's pretty much it for today. Thank you so much. We'll see you next month at the same bat time, the same bat cave. Russell Wright and Sue Bell from networkempire.com signing off.
Thanks so much, guys. See you next month.